Oh, hey there. If you're interested in learning how to wrap a bird box in fascia, well, you found the right video. In today's video, that's what we're going to be doing. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get a notification every time I release a new video, and smash that like button. It really helps out the channel. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the idea here is to wrap, we're using one piece of metal bent around the whole bird box in one shot. And in order to do that, the first thing you need to do is get a measurement from here tight against the other piece of fascia. Looks like we got 23 7/8. And then get a measurement here, about 1 foot. And then a measurement to where it curls back into the house. And that's about 12 inches as well. So write down all three of those measurements, and then we're going to make a piece bend around this whole thing. And we're using 6-inch ribbed fascia. Let's go ahead and cut that. So here's the 6-inch ribbed fascia that I was just talking about. This is what I'm going to be using to do this bird box wrap. And just so you know what ribbed means is it has these grooves. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's really fine grooves here and then here. And then smooth is it's no ribs at all. It's just a straight grain. So just so you know the difference, so you can get this at Lowe's or Home Depot. It comes in 10, 12-foot sections. Depends on the manufacturer, but this already has the lip bent for you and everything. So very nice product. So I'm going to tilt the camera down so you can see exactly what kind of measuring and cutting I'm doing. All right, so we know this side is the side that's going to be butting into the house. So we're going to start on this side and pull the measurement off that end. So what you need to do is just go ahead and simply, the last measurement that we got, which was the 12 1/4 actually is what ended up being. We'll mark that first, and then you use a speed square and just mark a straight line on that mark. And you're going to use a pair of tin snips to cut that line. So you can just get a pair of tin snips like these. You can get them at any hardware store. They're pretty affordable. So we're going to go ahead and cut that line now. And then what I like to do is go ahead and cut a little V-shaped notch. That way it's easier to bend the metal with that notch out of there. So, but first we're going to go ahead and mark all across the bottom here. So our next measurement is 12 3/8. Like I said, these might be a little different than what I said earlier in the video when I got the measurements, because I was measuring really quick. But so I'm going to go ahead and mark 12 3/8. And now this is the face of the bird box. All right. And again, we're going to cut a straight line there as well. And then after the straight line, we're going to cut a little notch out of it. Like so. And now the next mark that we're going to make is going to be the piece of fascia that returned into the other piece of fascia on the other side. So that was 23 7/8. 23 7/8 right there. And now this is going to get cut square straight off. So we'll go ahead and mark it and cut that. Like so. And now what we got to do, we'll go ahead and cut that square. Just use your tin snips, like so. All right. Let me double check which line was square there. Okay, so we're going to cut that square. You're going to notice that you got to move your fascia in different angles and flip it upside down and all around as you're cutting this out. So just FYI. And I always like to work on top of a siding box because it's cardboard and it won't damage the actual fascia face. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is we're going to go ahead and take our board. This is a board, just a random board that has square edges. And it seems like the wider and heavier the board is, the better. So now what we're going to do, we're going to lay it right in the straight edge of right as a square marker on that straight line and just score it just a couple of times lightly, not really hard, in each place that needs to be a corner. So right there, and now we're going to do it on this next one. Just like I said, just a couple times lightly. And now after it's scored, hold it tight, hold pressure on it tight, and just fold it over into that board. It acts as a little template almost to form the fascia. So after you bend it roughly, go ahead, and I like to take my hand and go ahead and bend it a little more, so that way it gives us a nice sharp looking corner, like so. Okay, so that's one corner of the bird box right there, pretty sharp. Now let's bend the next corner here. Do the same thing. Just lay your board down. And a piece of wood works great because it's a soft material, so it won't damage the fascia. All right, so same song and dance. Fold it into itself. Okay. Okay, so now we got a pre-bent piece of metal that's going to fit over that bird box. And that's what's going to look like inside of it. That's why we cut those corners out, so this stuff will flex in a little more than it could with those corners not on there. Because if the corners were on there, it could only stop at square, and then it'd be hard to get those sharp looking corners like this. So, all right, let's go install this thing. The nails we're going to be using are these little white aluminum fascia nails. You can get these at any hardware store as well. All right, now it's time to actually install the piece of metal. Now all you gotta do is slide it over the bird box and slide it up under the drip edge here. Let's go ahead and slide it into place and push it right up into the drip edge. Not too hard to do. Should look something like that. All my corners here look good, and the fascia itself looks good. All right, so now what you need to do is get one of your aluminum fascia nails and come in this far back corner, or in the case, if you don't have a far back corner to nail, just go ahead and tack a nail up under the fascia and into the soffit right into one of those grooves. And in this case, I can nail the face because guttering is going over this. So it's okay to face nail wherever guttering is going. So I'm going to go ahead and tack this on. Okay, so we only got one nail in this back corner, right? So we did not put any nails over here yet, or over here. So what you need to do next is go ahead and slide this piece up tight into the soffit there. And we're going to put a couple nails back here to hold it into place. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And I'll show you why you don't nail this yet. But first we got to go ahead and do this. So we just need to hold that about where it goes. Looks like right in there. And you want to make sure you put your nail back here as far as you can get it, because you're either going to have J-channel to cover up that nail, or in this case I'm putting stone here. But you want to put it back that way. You don't want to nail out in the center. You want to try to leave that nail free if you can. All right, and we're going to go ahead and position it about where it goes. Looks like right in there. That looks good. And now we're going to go ahead and put a second nail here. A tool you might want to get is called a pea shooter, or at least that's what we call them. It slides over those finish nails so you don't have to have your hammer swinging towards the fascia. So you just slide it right over. It works as a punch almost. You can hold and hit way back here. So it drives that nail without the risk of hitting the fascia with your hammer. Don't want to do that. So now, as you can see, the fascia didn't quite go up high enough. So in that case, I'm going to rip down another little piece of metal to finish wrapping this. And if you can get wider fascia, then just rip down the other side if that's what you got to do. But I usually just get another scrap piece of metal to wrap that. So let's go ahead and get the width of that. Looks like we need to make sure we need at least 1.5 inch piece. And let's rip that and put it into place. So in order to rip a piece of this metal down, I need a 16-inch piece. So let's go ahead and mark 16 inches. And now what we need to do, just put our square on there so we get a square cut. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and cut that off 16 inches long. And to rip this stuff, it isn't too hard to do, but I'll show you the best way to do it. It's similar to how we made the corner itself, except it's a little different. All right, so now that we got our 16-inch piece, put that out of the way. We're gonna have to use our straight edge again. But first, I know I need at least 1.5 inches. So this rib right here, I'll show you up close so you can see it. There's a rib right here. It's a groove. There's one here and there's one here. So it gives you good places to rip at. So I just need this first area here. So all I got to do is just put my knife in that rib and just trace right down it. Go ahead and just give it a few good strikes. All right, and to break this stuff, it's pretty easy. All you gotta do, like I said, I always like to use some kind of board every time I bend metal. Okay, so hold that tight, pull up, and breaks it right off. Okay, so now this piece of metal is what we're going to use to extend that piece of fascia. And we need to make sure we bend this as well. So we know we need a 12.25 inch piece. So if it slides in there like that, we're gonna pull off this edge, 12.25. And now we're gonna put a square line on it. Like so. And then we're going to go ahead and line this up so we got a square edge to bend off of. Okay, and again, just a couple light scores whenever you bend it from this angle. Okay, because you don't want to break this side this time. All right, so go ahead and give it a nice bend. Boom. All right, now we got a piece of metal ready to finish wrapping the rest of that bird box. Okay, so before we actually install this, we've got to slide it about where it goes, and we need to mark where our overhang's coming down, because we need to cut around this board because it's going to slide up farther into it. And you'll notice this stops only halfway over here because our piece of fascia coming down is going to cover the rest of that up. Okay, so our height, we can go ahead and get it by marking this, holding it up to where we're going to have it, and then that's going to be our height. So we need to come down, let's see, about 7/8 of an inch. Okay, and just take your snips, cut down to that 7/8 mark. Okay. And all you gotta do with this is just bend it back and forth and break it off right there. All right, that fits really well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a nail on this side where it goes to hold it into place. And now you won't be able to see up in here, so we can put a nail anywhere up in this part. You'll notice this is overlapped about 1/4 inch. All right, and that's how you extend the fascia up higher. So now in order to finish wrapping this bird box, we need to install this piece of fascia going down this overhang, and then it's going to cover up the rest of this bird box, and I'll show you how to cut it. Okay, so I know the length from the peak that's at the bottom of the soffit down to the bird box is 83 3/8. And now this is going to be right here where the piece of fascia meets that bird box. And then you got to add 16 inches. right here, and we're going to cut it off square down here. So let's go ahead and do that. And this, you're probably wondering why I would cut it square right where the bird box ends, but I'll show you an easy way to get the cut to make it look perfect in just a moment. So always cut it off square first. Okay, right here. So this cut doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure it's decent. Okay. And now what we need to do is, we know right here is where we need to cut a square line, because that's where we're meeting the bird box. So just take your 10 snips and cut that square. Okay, now lay it face down, and what I'm going to do, this part's going to go over the bird box right here. So we need to cut this lip off. So go ahead and just score down the edge of the lip. Again, 3 or 4 good scores. That should be enough. And now all you gotta do is bend this back and forth to work it off. And I know my face is cut off from the video, but I can't really get my face and let you see everything going on here at the same time. So I know you don't care to see my face anyways. But just work that back and forth till it comes off. And it's usually not too hard to do. This aluminum doesn't handle much stress when you bend it back and forth before it snaps. So there, it's coming off now. Okay. So now this is the piece that we're going to use to cover up the bird box. As you can see, there's no lip. This gives us a nice piece of metal to finish wrapping it. And let's go ahead and put it on. Okay, we install this just like we do any other fascia. Slide it up under the drip edge. And this takes a little finessing, but it's usually not too hard to do by yourself. Okay, now that you got your fascia slid into place, we need to put a nail up into the soffit from the bottom, like this. All right. Now, about every 2 foot apart, put a fascia nail up into it, and then we're going to address this bird box cut. All right, so the best thing to do is get behind here and just scribe along the back side, then mark the back side where it needs cut. Okay, so that's why we don't try to cut this ahead of time, because you have a cut down here and a cut here going down and over, so it's hard to get that perfect. So I'll just like to keep it loose, scribe it, then cut it. Much more accurate this way. All right, now snip off the bottom. And it looks like that, and it should look almost perfect. Now we just put 3 nails here, then we'll put 1 back here, and that's all there is to nailing it. All right, that's, like I said, it's like to put 3 nails on this end, because the reason why I like to do that is because wind can pull that off pretty easy. So we don't want that, because it can get right behind there if it's loose. So nice solid nailing pattern there, and we should be good to go. Now these are finished nails, so you will see these. So I urge you to take your time to not put any dents in the fascia. All right, guys, so that's the final product, and I hope you like it. It turned out really nice, and that is all there is to wrapping a bird box using 6-inch aluminum fascia. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. And it's getting hot out here. It's about 80, 90 degrees in the sun, and you probably noticed that my hat's not on that I usually wear, because it was soaked with sweat earlier. So I got to get finished the rest of this fascia. So I want to say thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.